historically, this is the first CGI animated film. It crushed all the box office, and so many people thought this was going to be a failure because it was so difficult to make. But the people at Pixar, they're true heroes when it comes to film making.
Best feel-good moment. Andy and his mom get back from Lauren's favorite place, the Pizza Planet, and he opens the door, and what he says is, he asks his mom, have you seen Woody? I can't find Woody. He didn't say Buzz. He said, I can't find Woody. And I remember just feeling really incredible about it, because in his heart of hearts, Woody was still like his main toy, and that was his dude. And Tom Hanks didn't have to, or Woody didn't have to feel the way he felt. And that's a huge lesson in your life. You don't need to be jealous, and you don't need to be competitive when you know in your heart of hearts that you are the true person for that person. So,
well, guys, Pete just pretty much put a master class on explanation there.
Lasseter did one amazing thing that had been done in plenty of movies and plenty of animated films, but I think it took it to a whole nother level with the comedy. I remember looking at my dad and seeing him laugh just as much as the kids in the audience. He did so many adult references, and that was part of the formula that's been everlasting for Pixar.
The reason why I love it too is because when my kids, mostly my son, when he tells me that he tells me he loves me to infinity and beyond. And I just love that,
my God.
Like, it's a line from a movie, and
Everybody's
he associates it.
Everybody's crying on
like
our podcast right now. John Lasseter reflects the impact of the movie, saying, yes, we worried about critics say. Yes, we worried about the opening box office is going to be. Yes, we worried about the final box office is going to be. But really, the whole point why we do what we do is to entertain our audiences. The greatest joy I get as a filmmaker is to slip into an audience for one of our movies anonymously and watch people watch our film. Because people are 100% honest when they're watching a movie. And to see the joy on people's faces, to see people really get into our films, to me is the greatest reward I could possibly get. I read that, and that epitomizes me in terms of like everything that I do in life. And action! Welcome to the Action Podcast, episode 5. Today, we are going to be reviewing the classic animation film Toy Story from 1995, the original computer-generated animation film, the first feature film of CGI animation that this world had ever seen. And boy, was it a story to get this one off the ground. The film is directed by John Lasseter, written by John Lasseter, Pete Docter, Andrew Stanton, Joe Ranft. The screenplay was done by Joss Whedon of Avengers fame, Joe Cohen, and Alex Sokolow. And with me today, we have, of course, my brother, there we go. My brother, Peter Escarcega. Below, we have John Cardiel, and we have Lauren Cardiel coming from Pizza Planet. She's live from Pizza Planet today.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah, John and I went to high school together at the M-Town, and then Lauren and I worked together at the Cheesecake Factory. And she is a Disney connoisseur. She literally grew up as a Disney princess, and now she wants to talk.
Continues to this day.
Yeah, and she's still a Disney princess. You can catch her at Disney.
I don't know about that. I might say Disney villain.
Disney villain, yeah.
Depends on who you ask. Yes.
And I also worked with Lauren and Paul at Cheesecake Factory for about 2 minutes.
That's true.
And I hated.
Actually, I forgot about that. Yeah,
every second of those 2 minutes.
So Lauren was also your manager, right?
Yeah. Lauren was actually like one of the only cool people there.
Yeah. Well, obviously, I led the charge of coolness.
Don't burn bridges.
Yeah, don't burn bridges.
And I also, in fact, went to M-Town with Peter as well. You forgot about that, Paul.
That's right. Yeah, John was a freshman when Pete was a senior.
Monrovia High School.
We have all connections here, guys. So, well, first off, so just to let our podcast audience up to date. So today we're going to be having a competition. The winner of the competition will get to choose one of the next films that we'll be reviewing. So we'll have a bunch of categories. We have 3 lists that we'll be doing. And then based on the categories in the list, the winner of those will get to choose our next film. And so one of the reasons why we're watching this film is, first and foremost, again, historically, this is the first CGI animated film. It won a couple Oscars. It also got John Lasseter a Special Achievement Award. But this pretty much launched the film movies into the CGI world. The technology, they literally developed the technology. And this is a huge historical film just on that standpoint, but it's also just a great film as well. And it's the first, it was the first animated film to ever be nominated for a screenplay. And so this film is just, it's great on so many different fronts. And again, for my audience, to be very clear, I'm not an expert on this film. I've only seen this maybe 2 or 3 times. I do think it's a great film, but this is not my wheelhouse. So my guests here will be the ones mainly talking about this film. And but we're also watching this film. This came out in '95, so I was 15 years old, and I do remember seeing this in theater. And again, it was the #1 film of the year. It crushed all the box office, and so many people thought this was going to be a failure because it was so difficult to make. But the people at Pixar, they're true heroes when it comes to film making. They've been wanting to do this film for like 10 years, and they kept pushing the envelope. You know, Steve Jobs helped fund it.
Steve Jobs didn't think it was going to fail at all.
But no, initially he thought it was going to fail. Initially, he thought it was going to fail, and then the Pixar people convinced him that it was not going to fail. But
he doesn't get involved unless he knows there's going to be a success.
Correct. Yeah. But the Pixar, the original Pixar people, and mainly John Lasseter, you know, he was the spearhead of this, is the true pioneer, the true hero of this. And we'll be celebrating all these people in today's film. So I'm going to start with Lauren. Lauren, why is this film important to you? What did this film mean to you? What was your experiences when you first saw this film?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I can't even remember when I probably first watched it. I think it was more with like having kids and, you know, going back to trying to find like, you know, those old Disney animated or Pixar animated films. And this is one of the films that my kids really like. And I just think it's like a super fun, like, you know, romance type of film. I think Woody and Buzz are 2 iconic characters. I love all of the little like tidbits that you see in there, all the nods to, you know, the nostalgic toys, like, you know, like Tinker Toy, and, you know, you see Play School, you see Little Tykes, you see
the Slinky Dog,
a bunch of little games like Twister, Operation. So there's just something about it that just makes you like have this feeling of nostalgia. And so, you know, and then Randy Newman, his song, I know we'll probably talk about that later, but I don't know. It's just kind of, yes. Yeah. Nice try.
So to the audience here, I was writing the script for all this, and I was kind of going through it fast. I was doing it on my phone. Usually I do it on my computer, but I was doing it on my phone because I was traveling. And I knew the song was like A Friend Like Me or something like that, but I had confused it with the Aladdin song, You Ain't Never Had a Friend Like Me. And so I wrote that in the script, and Lauren called me out and be like, buddy, that's not this film. That's a different song. So
You Ain't Never Had a Friend Like Me Under the Sea.
Yeah. I combined like 7.
Great song.
Yeah. So I think it's really fun. I think it's really fun to watch, you know, with my kids now. And I think they really did a good job with, you know, the films 2, 3, and 4. So it just kind of like holds a special place in like our family's, you know, movie collection. It's one of those films that I feel like I could turn it on and fall asleep to just, you know, listening to it in the background.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's why it's pretty near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, for sure. And even going back to the toys, you know, when I was doing some of the research for it, you know, because a lot of people didn't believe in this film. Again, like it's a big part of the story of this film is the making of the film. And I've read several Pixar books that are more about Pixar as opposed to this film, but again, a lot of people didn't think this was going to be a success. So like Mattel, so Barbie's in the second film. Barbie was supposed to be in this first film. They wrote a scene for Barbie, and Mattel was like, yeah, no, we don't want to attach Barbie to this. We don't think it's going to be a hit. And, so they didn't approve of Barbie being same as G.I. Joe. I think G.I. Joe is the same thing. Like, no, we're not going to include you guys in this. And of course, this became an absolute hit. And then in the subsequent films, they're like, okay, yeah, we're down for it. And again,
jokes on them.
Yeah,
it's the same. It's the same thing when E.T. came out and they approached M&M's first, and the M&M's were like, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to be part of this dumb film. And so then Reese's Pieces came along and said, yeah, let's do it. And Reese's Pieces just blew up after this film.
No, that's a good point. That's a good point. Awesome. So
so really quick, Peter. Paul, the scene that you're referring to that they wrote for Barbie was actually the end of the film when they're trying to get back into Andy's car. They're kind of like, so Barbie was supposed to pull up in her convertible and kind of like be the hero and save the day. I thought that would have been really cool because I think in the subsequent films, and Barbie's a super cool character in the rest of the films.
I read somewhere that they were toying with the idea of having Barbie be the love interest, not Bo Peep for a while.
Yes, that's true. I read that as well.
I would have liked that. I would have liked that, to be honest.
Me too. Don't get me started on Bo Peep. We'll go down a long rabbit hole of Bo Peep. I got problems with her. Talk about that later.
We'll talk about that later.
We found out who our negative person is for the show.
Yep. No, just Bo Peep.
Don't you try and spin that off on anybody, Pete. That's you.
No, I know we're talking about Toy Story 1, but don't get me going on Toy Story 4.
Don't bush us, dude.
No.
Yeah. All right, John, please enlighten our audience. What did this film mean to you? Why is this film important in your life, and how did it impact you? And again, what's your first memories of this story when it came out?
Honestly, it was really, really awesome. I smiled the whole time just because I think everyone can relate was what got me. And I talked to even the homies at the time, even at 15, being in high school, thinking we're hard. This is 95 during the gangster rap age. We all got a little bit of thug in us in Monrovia High School. But you talk to your friends, 15-year-old dudes, and everyone has that same little smile. It made us break our character, remember that we're all children at heart still. And we could remember being in those times playing with our toys. And I think almost every human being on this earth remembers childhood and can relate to those make-believe times with toys. So it just hit home for everyone, assuming, unless you're a psychopath. Sorry, psychopaths out there, don't come after me. But you kind of have to have zero empathy if you can't relate to this film in some way or form. So to me, just to be all-encompassing was an amazing film that made everyone smile, including a little 15-year-old wannabe kid who thought he was a thug.
Yeah, for sure.
And Psychopaths is okay. Just make sure to subscribe.
Yeah, make sure you like.
Yeah. Psychopaths buy sneakers too. Hit that subscribe button.
and to your point, John, like I think this is the first film. So traditionally, animation at this point now it's so popular, but when this film came out, there wasn't really funny animation. Like animation and comedy weren't really a thing at this time. And this was the first film that again made a lot of fun of these toys.
Agree with that.
Well, what would you consider a comedy before this?
I mean, a comedy. I mean, this isn't a comedy. It's a funny movie. It has funny beats, but this isn't a comedy at all. This is a
comedic.
It is comedic, but I mean,
I wouldn't say it's
comedy is strewn through animation for years and years prior to this. No,
but my point is, before this, Pete. Again, now I think it's a staple of animation where it's like everything is a throwaway joke. Everything they make fun, like how people walk. Like, everything is comedic with how the animation is produced. And I'm sure your new movie, Pete, that's coming out July 15th, Paws of Fury.
Plug.
You're welcome for that plug.
Yes.
Every beat in that has a comedic tone to it. But to me, this all is generated from Toy Story. We didn't see that. Like, again, if you look at the classics, Pinocchio, Seven Dwarfs, Lady and the Tramp, and I'm just spitballing. Disney, that was not Disney's forte. Disney's forte was not funny lines, making fun of circumstances. Like, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but
Well, I mean, there was some.
This to
there
me
was some,
invented
there was some
American
comedic
film.
value to. There was some comedic value to the reemergence of Disney animation when it came back out. I mean, Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and
There was not that much humor there.
they were very funny moments that
Absolutely, with Aladdin.
that people were laughing in those theaters. So
Yes,
I
but
understand what you're saying.
not to this
I
level.
understand what you're saying, but it's not revolutionary in the comedy animation genre.
Wow, we're already disagreeing, guys.
Well,
So
Yikes.
let's
I can't
already
disagree with Pete and Aladdin because Robin Williams as the genie was the comedic drive to that movie.
no,
Almost
100%.
all of that movie.
No, 100%. What I guess what I'm saying is there's the writing evolved starting with this film, and it started with, again, to me, it's a CGI animated thing because I agree, Robin Williams was hilarious, and yes, there's comedic moments to it, but it started to evolve to where everything is a joke in terms of the references, like everything is a reference, everything, like there's so much on the ancillary stuff where they started spending more time on
That's for sure.
Easter
There's a lot
eggs.
of depth in this movie.
Say it again.
I said it's very rich. There's a lot of depth in this movie. So I agree with you. Like each line is very, very carefully calculated and well thought out. And there has to be comedy attached to it, like you're saying, because of the references that it's making. And so it has to relate to the audience in a certain way. And that's certainly, in that sense, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, and I think that's why the film is kind of, I guess, timeless, because we can watch it when we were 15 years old and find something like John said about, I remember like playing with my toys and you're playing with Barbie one day and then, she's in the toy chest, like locked away. But then now that we're older, we find, little sarcastic comments, or we can relate with something that Mr. Potato Head says, or like, Ham's very sarcastic. And so we're going to get little jokes as adults now that our kids, it's just going to go right over their head.
Yeah, 100%.
I think what Pixar did with this movie is something that they took a very successful formula that Disney had established in terms of making movies, about making it a theme based, giving a message and instilling values into especially the kids that watch their films. So Disney sort of created this world of creating animated movies that taught life lessons to its younger audiences. And I think when this movie came out, they not only did that, but they elevated it to such a standard that Disney at one point had to say, okay, well, we have to become partners quick because you're doing it a lot better than we're doing it right now. Because at the time, Disney animation was going into the shit. And so Pixar came out with this boom, and then they just followed up with like A Bug's Life, and then they just, how about we do Toy Story 2? And they just keep elevating things. And then once John Lasseter got attached to Disney and Pixar together, and he just took that studio into the ether.
100%. Yeah. And again, you can't take away, John Lasseter is such a big part of, you can argue he's maybe the greatest influence on animation in history. I can even make an argument more so than Walt Disney.
Oof. Don't say that out loud. Don't say that out loud. John Lasseter is very important. John Lasseter is a strong 2 or a 2A with somebody else out there. But
obviously you guys are anti-Semitic, which is why you're choosing Walt Disney.
Oh gosh.
You can't take away. You can't take away what Walt Disney did and established.
I'm not. What I'm saying is Walt Disney obviously started this all, and Walt Disney obviously is a GOAT. But I think John Lasseter in his own right, what he had to do is even more difficult because he had to take over a dying industry and then revolutionize it again. And I think
but that's like saying
that's a harder task sometimes than what
that's like saying that Peyton Manning's the greatest quarterback as long as you exclude Tom Brady. It's like you can't make that argument. Tom Brady is still
a lot of people don't backtrack, Paul.
Oh, let's not get into this argument, but a lot of people would vote
No
Peyton
backtrack.
Manning as the greatest quarterback.
Oh gosh.
That's ridiculous.
Well, I want to add
Moving
one point that
forward.
Yeah,
I want
let's
to
not
add
get
one
us.
point to Pete's formula. One point that we're forgetting to Pete's formula with what you guys were discussing, which he created.
Thank you.
Is that
Thank you.
Lasseter did one amazing thing that had been done in plenty of movies and plenty of animated films, but I think it took to a whole nother level with the comedy. Is I remember looking at my dad and seeing him laugh just as much as the kids in the audience. He did so many adult references, and that was part of the formula that's been everlasting for Pixar from
100%.
this movie on forward, is to somehow get the parents to laugh at innuendos throughout the movie that the kids might not even get, but
So
still
you
make it
prove my
fun for the
point,
kids
John.
as well.
I love your point. I'm gonna give John an extra credit point just for proving my point.
I gave
What?
Okay,
He
so
stole
far-
that point from Pete.
First of all, Lauren,
So
you already
far-
got. I do want to mention this before I forget. Lauren gets the point for the best backroom costume. So Lauren is up 1-0 over everybody. I want to make that fully known to everybody. Lauren is up 1-0 on that.
But now John gets a point because I agree with him, and that's a great point. Give him a point.
Yeah, John gets an extra bonus point for not only proving my point, but also proving point of Pete's point. And that's good job, John.
Thank you.
Yeah, good job, John. I briefly remember me actually saying that in a conversation we had prior to this podcast. So
But listen,
way to steal my thought.
John is the
Is
smartest
there
one here,
negative
you know?
points for combative subject matter?
There can be,
Standing on the shoulders of giants. That's how you become famous.
And just Pete, I want to make sure I give you the full forum, but I haven't actually asked you what was your initial experience with it. I know you obviously gave your opinion on the film, but do you have any stories on like when you first saw this film? You were probably what, 17, 18?
Yeah, no, I was a senior. I was a senior in high school, and this movie came out, and it was we'd already gone through our Beauty and the Beast and our Aladdin, and we've gone through that phase, and so there was a high with animated films, but it was almost a thing where you didn't want to admit that you loved Disney films, even though they were great. Like who doesn't love Aladdin? Like who doesn't love Beauty and the Beast and the Lion King? Then Lion King comes out right after that, so you have like this string of like great movies that are incredible. And then when Toy Story came out, my appreciation for this movie, certainly it was great to watch in '95, but my appreciation for this film came much, much later on, when you understand the history of what it took. And it was basically one man's vision. He had a dream of creating the first full feature animated film, CG animated film, which was Ed Catmull. And he was the one that basically put together the technology. He did it in college and his graduate school, and just kept building and trying to create something that was revolutionary. And at the time, I didn't appreciate the awesome nature of this film.
I mean, none of us knew all this stuff.
Gravity
at the time.
The gravity of what this film means. It was only like years later when I started in animation that you start to kind of research history, and you start loving people like Walt Disney, who's number one. Then you start loving other people on the list. John Lasseter is certainly important, but Ed Catmull is an unsung hero because we wouldn't be watching CG films if it wasn't for him and his vision and his technical prowess. He was an innovator, just like Walt Disney was. John Lasseter is a creative innovator. Like, this guy can tell stories that, like John says, appeals to both kids and adults alike.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this film was important, and it will always be important, and that's why it has to be number one on so many lists out there.
For sure.
Just beware of your future lists.
Yikes.
So better be number one.
So for our audience, one book I recommend it's called Creativity Inc. It's actually by Ed Catmull that Pete just mentioned.
Brilliant.
And it
Brilliant book.
It tells the beginning stories on what they had to go through. It's again, you're going to appreciate Pixar as a company, as a people, as a culture, everything so much more when you read this book, because again, that's what makes this movie even so much more greater is what they had to go through against the odds to even make this film. And then for it to be such a smash hit when no one believed in it, fantastic film. And that's going to lead us, guys, into our first listicle.
Oh,
and
boy.
we're going to go through top 5 animated films
listicles
of all time. And let me tell you, this was tough. A fantastic exercise because, you know, animation has been going on for almost 100 years now.
Almost 100 years.
Yeah, almost 100 years. And you still have classics that are still going strong. Obviously, there's rides in Disneyland and other parks. But
can you believe Snow White is almost 100 years old?
I know.
Like
know
it's less than a decade away from Snow White being 100 years old. That's crazy.
And it's still again an absolute classic. And so Pete, we're going to start with you on the top 5 animated films of all time. Go ahead and start this off.
All right. Well, my honorable mentions list is about this big. Like there's just so many great films, and so I had to sort of really just adjust this list to be about me and not necessarily about box office or
so before you start,
acclaim.
Give your criteria so the audience is very clear on how you picked your 5.
Sure. Thank you, Paul, for that.
Yeah.
All right.
This is my 5th podcast with you. I know the routine.
Well, I'm
number 5.
To allow you some creative freedom, Pete. I'm not trying to restrict
2, 3, 4.
No.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Here's my 5th. It's number 5 for me is a movie that is coming out on July 15th. It's supposed to be like one of the greatest movies ever. It's called Paws of Fury: The Legend of Hank.
Find a way to plug his new film,
starring Michael Cera, Ricky Gervais, Sam Jackson, directed by Rob Minkoff, who directed the original Lion King, and the producer of it is somebody who's really awesome and cool. And it's the best number 5 animated movie of all time. Number four for me was Finding Nemo.
You didn't even say the name, dude. You didn't even say the name.
Yeah.
Oh, it cut off then.
Yeah, I did.
Paws
of Fury, The Legend of Hank.
Okay, yeah, it must have cut off or something. I didn't hear it.
Now it's there.
Okay.
Roll it back. Number 4 for me is Finding Nemo. Finding Nemo was a little bit later on in the Pixar list of release, but it was a different way to tell an incredible story about just keep swimming and keep moving forward and keep fighting. And it was something that was very personal to me because, you know, life is shitty, and you know, if you just keep swimming, then you will achieve whatever it is that you want. It always hit home to me. Number 4, Finding Nemo. Number 3 for me was Aladdin. When Aladdin came out, it was, I don't know, there was something special about it, and the music was incredible. I love Robin Williams to death. As our massive audience knows already, that Robin Williams is very important to my life. And when he took on this role, it was just his voice, and he killed it. And the songs were perfect. The story was incredible. Yes, Paul.
Is it my imagination, or was Aladdin the first film that really had like an A-lister voice come in and play a role? Like I'm trying to think of all the other animation films, and I don't remember a A-lister headliner playing a voice role. And now obviously it's common now, but I feel like Robin Williams was the first guy that's like, oh shit, that's who's doing the voice. And again, like it just elevated the film, because after that, like James Earl Jones did Lion King, but in Beauty and the Beast, nobody's right. No, I don't remember
Angela Lansbury, but Angela Lansbury didn't have the same.
No, but none of these are
same status as Robin Williams.
Like Robin Williams was at the time. I feel like Aladdin's the first film that actually recruited an A-lister to.
You might be right. It's something that now it's going to bother me tonight. I'm going to have to look it up.
So guys,
Best.
comment below if you can confirm this or deny. We do not know the answer right now, but I'm gonna go ahead and put the Pauly stake down and say Aladdin is the first film that recruited an A-lister voice to do the role. And again, it became commonplace after that to get major actors. But yeah. Anyways, continue with the list, Pete.
Number 2 on my beautifully perfect list is Inside Out. Inside Out was a movie. Inside Out was
Inside Out number 2.
Great movie. It's great.
Oh my God.
Number 2. It's one of the more clever ways to talk about how difficult it is being a kid, and all of the little nuances that go on in somebody's head. And I think it was done brilliantly. I think the story was really great. It was impressive. I mean, when I saw it for the first time, I watched it with my daughter, and she loved it for just because it was great, but I loved it for that reason. It was a different way to talk about something that's really important, which is how a child thinks and how a child is going to move forward in their lives.
That's a
beautiful film
right there.
It's a beautiful
core
film.
memory, homie. Core memory.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I gotta hear number 1 now at this point.
Number 1, Toy Story, for obvious reasons. It was innovative. I mean, the only other innovative animated movie before this was Snow White in the 30s.
I agree with that.
Only because it had never been done, and we wouldn't be where we are today with animation, not just in film, but with CGI, VFX, with video gaming. We wouldn't be
100%.
anywhere without Toy Story. It's the number 1 film animated of all time. Thank you. Point for Peter.
You missed one film.
Mic drop.
You missed one film, which is why you're gonna get dock points. But
Wow.
I want to see if someone else is gonna put this film on their list. But actually, you missed 2 of them. 2 of them I can't believe.
So you know what
I
the
missed,
top 5 is of all time?
Well,
I missed a lot. That's why I said my
So you're the
list.
Yeah, I'm the
My
judge.
honorable mentions is
I'm
like
not
this
in the,
long.
yeah.
You literally started off by Pete saying, "What's your criteria, Pete?" So it's his list.
Right,
Thank you,
John. I'm the one
John.
giving points away, so you gotta still
okay.
acquiesce to my opinion.
Okay.
That's how this rolls.
Minus 1 point. Minus the point for John.
Minus 1 point for John for
Yeah.
All right,
Just so you guys know,
John Bear, your list is
I have
up.
a side point system.
John
At the
Bear,
end
your
of this
list
will
is
be
up.
Paul's tally and my tally right now. So we're all up 3 points. Paul is at -1 point on my scorecard, guys.
I have no points. I don't get points.
I am the CompuBox. I am CompuBox of this competition.
John might be the first guest in history to have a negative score at the end of the,
You're the equivalent of Amber Heard on
Not by CompuBox.
minus $8 million.
John's next, huh?
Oh wow. Okay.
John Bear turn.
Awesome.
John Bear Heard. All right,
right.
John, let's hear your list.
Okay, now can we continue?
Wow me.
Yes,
John, I want you to wow me right now.
Number 5 for me of all time is Wreck-It Ralph. I have nothing to base it on, except that I just really, really love the movie. It was fun. It was fantastic. The one line I will always remember is, just because you're a bad guy, it doesn't make you a bad guy. Just that anyone can still be who they want to believe in and change himself. But it was just a kick-ass movie. It was a fun thrill ride. Like, it took my imagination in a whole new world, especially being someone who loves video games. So nothing to base it on, except it's just been a recent, movie that I've loved in the last decade that just makes me smile.
Yeah, better than Paws of Fury. I don't know. It remains to be seen.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know. I just love it.
It doesn't come out yet.
We'll find out.
I dig it, man. It's a good movie. Yeah. All right. Number 4 is for me is Coco. Disney decided to represent the Hispanic people, the Latin American people. So it was cool to show some heritage. And how effing awesome would that be? No matter what you believe in, what if when the lights go out that you end up in Coco Land? If that's your version of heaven and the next chapter is that'd be a kick-ass place to be, is all I'm saying. I'd party over there for life and eternity after. So that's why I did Coco a lot.
Right.
I have not seen Coco myself, but I've heard.
Oh, man, dude, Coco's so good. It's such a good movie.
No, I've heard that. I need to watch that.
How are you moderating this podcast and you haven't seen Coco?
I'm probably the least qualified to run today's podcast, but I've seen every other.
You did mention that. Yeah.
Next Wednesday night, we'll have a viewing of Coco at our house.
Yeah. There
For
we go.
those that don't know, we usually force each other to watch a movie every Wednesday night. And we all get together. So next Wednesday night movie for Paulie is going to be Coco with us.
Coco was on the list.
All right,
That's
number
a lot.
three. Number three for me is Shrek, the original Shrek,
There we go, John.
because I'm a huge Eddie Murphy fan. Huge Eddie Murphy fan. I thought it was just an amazing role. He was hilarious the whole time as Donkey, but it's a great movie.
yeah.
To capitalize and just make the hero of a movie just like this raunchy, truly raunchy, just unsophisticated, uncouth ogre who goes around being himself and is literally the baddest dude and whatever what is it? Where does he live? Where's Ogreville live? Remind me. The
Storyland or something like that.
Yeah. He lives in the swamp.
Once
Yeah.
I
But the
God,
hardest
I'm
dude
worse
there,
qualified
you
for this.
know, and to revolve the movie around him. But
And Mike
That was
Myers is a
definitely on my list.
yeah, hell yeah, he is. He's freaking hilarious. But the buddy aspect of this movie, you got the annoying buddy who just proves loyalty and starts a companionship, and it's Shrek and Donkey on another whirlwind adventure. It's just a badass movie
No, it is.
about two homies that are going to go after it, put fear aside. They got a common goal, and they're going to fucking cast and save a princess.
Yep.
So that's what's great about this
Incredible
movie.
franchise.
Is this a G-rated audience? I do forget. So sorry.
No, you're good, John. Cuss away.
We good. All right, cool. Number two for me, this is where I started getting tough. This is where I start to get a little introverted and weird and geeky. Number two for me is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Mm-hmm.
Just look at everything that movie has done to our minds and common society.
Yeah.
Literally, Facebook has changed its name to Meta. Like the first real movie that makes us think maybe there are other dimensions out there, and make kids think like, hey, this thing could be a possibility.
It's a great
Look
film.
yeah, it's a freaking fantastic film. To me, it's I don't know any of the esoteric terminology of what the CG does in this film, but I just see the animation move so fast. I'm sure there's some crazy graphic operating systems that make this happen. To see the animation in it was just astounding
For
to
sure.
a common man like myself.
Yeah.
But to just break the audience and like the world and saying, hey, what is these multiple dimensions? What is a metaverse? And now we discuss it in everyday society. It's common knowledge, the metaverse.
And then like adding Nick
So,
Cage
groundbreaking.
film. And then I forget who's the pig. Who's the pig character? Who's the pig voice?
Who plays the pig? That's gonna
Him.
bother me.
I forget. It's awesome. It's a great film.
Great film. Just instantly, I fell in love with it. Believe the hype. Like I was so hyped behind the movie, and I caught on to it late, and I jumped right on the bandwagon as soon as I saw it late in the game. But awesome. We'll move to number one for me though. This is a weird one. I did want to say Toy Story 2, but because of what we're doing in the platform tonight, I didn't bring up Toy Story, but it is right on my side notes of being the number one of all time. So I went a different route. I went half animation, half CG animation on this one. My top movie of all time, because I think this movie is going to mean a lot generations down the line. And I think most of the world doesn't even realize how big of a movie this is. And it's Ready Player One. Have you guys seen Ready Player One?
Yeah, no, that's
That's
interesting.
because I know half the movie is computer generated, the other half is not. The reason I consider this number one is because it's hard to make me believe right now in 2022, whatever the hell year we're in right now. It's hard to you can't change my mind saying, give us another 100 years. There's a good chance we're all stuck behind VR goggles. This is the first movie that breaks that VR.
Your premise for sure.
Yeah, your premise is interesting.
But I mean, because it's true. I mean,
it's groundbreaking. What if this society goes this route? What if 100 years from now, we are in this VR world, especially like the younger generations that come could be a lot sooner than we think. This movie went under most shadows. As far as revenue wise, this movie is supposed to make a lot more than it did originally.
By the way,
so I think it's underrated.
I actually really like this film, and not everybody.
The reason it's number one to me is
this film, but I mean,
what it represents in the future. I think the mainstream audience hasn't really truly understood what this movie might give us a glimpse into the future and what it could possibly be. That's why I rank it number one.
But I would argue, does that mean that Who Framed Roger Rabbit is an animated movie just because it has animation?
Actually, I thought that's where he was going, Pete. You can include Who Framed Roger Rabbit for sure.
Yeah.
Again, it's
I mean, a good portion, if not more than 50% of Ready Player One. And I just watched this last week. I just watched it again because I do love.
considered it initially, but it's a good argument.
I wouldn't consider it an animated film, even though the majority of it is animation. It's a really interesting. It's really interesting. God damn.
So I don't know if it qualifies. I said Toy Story is my number one, so I try to parlay this
your list,
qualifier as my sub number one, just on what it might mean to the future.
It's your list.
There we go.
That's a good argument. It's a good argument.
Well done.
Let's see what Lauren goes. John,
Lauren.
John, a very interesting.
Yeah, you guys brought.
She's been chomping at the bit over there.
A lot of deep thoughts into your list. Your guys' lists are very deep, and mine is going to be more like frou-frou Disney princess. The criteria for my films are just films that like make me feel good. I love musical theater. I love Disney music, Disney songs, Disney princesses. So that's what you're going to kind of see in my list. So my number 5 is Aladdin. I love that movie because I love the songs, You Ain't Never Had a Friend Like Me, Robin Williams. I felt like, it was kind of like this big Broadway production and him performing and, that movie, when the kids and I have dance parties in our house, like that song really gets us going. So I love that. And I love Princess Jasmine. I don't know if she was the first Disney princess that had like dark hair. I know Snow White, obviously has dark hair, fair skin.
It's probably the
but
first,
just looking at Princess Jasmine.
She's the first non-white.
Yeah.
Did Princess and the Frog come out before that?
No.
No, it was after?
After.
As after, yeah. So I think I just looked at Princess Jasmine and I thought, when you think about like Halloween costumes and, I want to be Cinderella or I want to be, Sleeping Beauty. It's like, those types of characters were very limited for me. I mean, sure, I could have been Cinderella if I wanted to, right? But Cinderella with dark brown hair and black eyes, that didn't really work. So Aladdin's my number 5. My number 4 is Little Mermaid. That movie just makes me super happy whenever I watch it. It's one of Mackenzie's favorite films. Part of Your World. She just loves that song. She makes Sean sing it to her every single night.
Won't you? My collection's complete.
Yes.
That's a good song.
I think it's, it's a song that, as a little girl, you sing it in the pool and you dunk underwater and you come back out and you're just like.
What do you mean a little girl? I was a little boy doing that.
I think we all sing that song.
I had a long hair phase and I did it. I totally
so
did
we can all relate. We can all relate to those moments. But
I popped up onto that rock. You know what I mean?
That's right.
My hair,
this
with your chest.
my big boobs.
Yes, with your seashells. And it had some other really fun songs, Under the Sea. That's in our dance party mix too. So I think it was just a really fun movie that kind of stands the test of time, and it's definitely again one of those ones that me and my kids can fall asleep to, listening to that in the background.
For sure.
My number 3 is Coco, and again, just like for the reasons that John said, it was just this beautiful film that celebrated Hispanic culture. And it was a film that you could kind of take your kids to and kind of explain like, this is a tradition that we as families celebrate. And, we remember our loved ones. And I think the music in it is very beautiful. The chords of the guitar and, you're hearing, Spanish lyrics, and it made my heart so happy. I love the costumes in that. When I was a young girl, I grew up dancing ballet folklorico. So seeing those costumes on screen, I could really relate to those. I just thought the colors were vibrant and beautiful. And then the end of the film, although it's very sad, I was.
Don't spoil it. I haven't seen it yet, so don't spoil it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, I will have a box of tissues on reserve for you at this
The
house.
ending is so happy and upbeat. You should just go into it thinking that.
Yes. Yeah. So that's my number 3. One of my favorites. Number 2, Beauty and the Beast. Again, one of those just really fun Disney songs, you know, the opening scene where Belle's going through the town and, you know, you kind of get.
Honestly, that's like, the first film that combined CGI and traditional celluloid animation, correct, Pete? Is that right?
That's the first I'm hearing of that. I don't remember hearing that at all.
Was Beauty and the Beast before Aladdin? Beauty and the Beast before Aladdin, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think this is the first animation film. So like Little Mermaid's all celluloid.
I'm gonna whiteboard that. We can look it up later.
Yeah. No, I'm actually pretty. I stand by what I'm saying. And then Beauty and the Beast was the first one that combined some CGI elements to the traditional animation. And then Aladdin did the same with the, whole new world sequence.
Yes.
You guys can check me on it, but my middle name is Google, so go ahead.
I'm gonna check you on. I'm gonna whiteboard that one. Paul's middle name is not Google.
So so Beauty and the Beast again. I love a big theatrical Broadway production type song. So Be Our Guest. You know.
Yeah.
You can reenact that. You can do all that. It's a musical that's gone on, you know, to the stage, and they do it in high schools and colleges. So I think it's not only a really good film, but it also translated to a really amazing and successful stage production for Disney.
For sure.
And my number one.
And a live action film as well.
Yes. Oh, yes. Which Paul has deep thoughts on that too, but we'll get into that later.
We're not gonna get into that tonight.
We're not getting into that tonight.
No.
And my number one is Toy Story.
Toy Story.
Toy Story. Love everything about it. Love all the characters. Love. Are you guys making fun of me?
No.
Never.
Again, at Cheesecake Factory. I'm not gonna piss you off.
That's right. I'll cut your station.
Yeah.
But Toy Story, even today, before the podcast, John and I kind of had it on in the background, and you know, was just kind of watching it, and I was like, "Oh, babe, like, did you see that, or did you notice that?" I just think that there's something to find. You know, every single time we watch it. Again, I love all the nostalgic references. I love the message of, you know, the bromance between Woody and Buzz that carries, you know, all the way up into the fourth and final movie. So I just think it's a really good film.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's absolutely great.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a very good list. I'm gonna give you my top 5, and
let's hear it.
With all due respect, my list is the best. But
Uncle P's top 5 animated films of all time.
The number 5, guys, and nobody put this on the list, which just appalls me. But Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, like we mentioned earlier, this is the original great animation film.
I understand why you would do that, but there's so many amazing films that are better than Snow White. No offense to Snow White.
I had the dopey stuffed animal, and he was literally my best friend for a good solid 2 years.
Yeah, because you're dopey.
He lived with 7 dudes.
I was like, how can I live with 7 guys?
Let's not put that on your dating app.
My stuffed animal was super cool guy.
Yeah, my favorite stuffed animal was Dopey for sure. But anyways, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is, again, like, if I combine the ride, I combine the movie, I combine the songs, like again, it's the classic. To me, it's the originator. It's the original great animation film, and so that's why it's number 5 on my list. I agree. Probably yes. There's better films, but to me, you got to throw in a classic in there. And so
Snow White, Paws of Fury. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
Yeah,
it's tough.
We'll see. We'll see first week. It
remains to be seen.
Number 4, Toy Story. Obviously, that's on everybody's list for all the reasons you guys have said. It's historical. It's great. But I will say this: Toy Story is not my favorite film to watch. So that's why it's number 4. Number 3, Shrek. John Bear already mentioned why Shrek is great. Shrek to me is again, I love Mike Myers, and I love what Shrek did. Again, buddy comedy, and then it was so clever with the writing and all that good stuff. So Shrek is my number 3. Number 2, which is probably the animation film I've seen the most, is Aladdin. And I love Aladdin. And Prince Ali,
it's a good movie.
Mighty as He, Ali Ababwa. I mean,
Ali Ababwa.
Alibaba. It's great. I love the music again. Robin Williams, like we said, Aladdin, I absolutely love. And my number one, guys, nobody had this on their list. And I don't know what kind of childhood you had, and maybe you guys were abused as children, but it's American Tail. Because
Yeah.
I knew. Oh my
Eiffel,
I knew you were
gosh.
gonna say
somewhere
that.
out there,
Oh my gosh.
Man.
You love Somewhere Out There.
somewhere out there is the greatest song of all time. And we have another list coming up soon. But somewhere
I
out
was
there is the
coming
greatest
through
song
that
of all
song.
time.
That was a hell of a song, man.
And there's no animation film that ever made me feel so sad and like that movie messed with my emotions. Maybe I was 5
Yeah,
years old.
you
So
can't argue with that. That movie really kind of messed me up. It kind
I
of
don't think I've ever cried in an animation film more than
it was the end of childhood and the beginning of adulthood.
Yeah,
that
man.
movie just it kind of changed your perspective.
So that's why American Tail is number one for me, is because again, there's no film that made me feel the feels than American Tail, and that's
Tough
why
one,
that's
man.
my number one.
Yeah, that's
So
That
guys,
makes sense.
if I was in this competition, I would win the list, but because I'm not,
God.
I'm going to go ahead and give Lauren the victory here, only because I thought she had the most consistent list. Everybody else went a little bit of, a couple choices were a little out there. John, I actually liked your list the most and actually loved your argument for number one. And you almost had it. You almost had the victory.
Oof.
But Lauren she batted 323.
outrageous.
Consistent.
Very, very consistent list. She didn't go too crazy outside the list. And every single one of her film, I think, at least deserves to be on the list. And so Lauren is at the point.
Okay.
So Lauren is
What is
Right
the
time.
score? It's the current score here.
It's 2-0.
It's pretty close. I'm
No,
feeling
you have
it.
one. You have one.
Not close for me. I
Like
got
around the
0.
horn, is there live points?
I've got
Yeah,
0 points.
Yeah, Pete has 0. John has 1.
Bullshit. It's outrageous.
That's the
Even with Paws of Fury on there, I don't even point.
yeah. That's what keeps you keep losing points because it hasn't come out yet. So we can't even judge it yet. So, anyways, let's move forward, guys. This is gonna be a 7-hour podcast if we're on this pace right now. Our next category is, and the Oscar goes to, and this can be a cast member, this can be a crew member, whoever you think just contributed and just did such an excellent job, kind of the MVP of the film. And for our audience, the real awards that this film won was so the second time in history, a special achievement Oscar went to John Lasseter for the first computer-generated feature film. The only other time this ever happened was for Snow White, which is why it's number 5 on my list, which is why you guys all lost on that. And then it also won, it got nominated for original screenplay, again, unheard of. An animation film had never been nominated for a screenplay. And then also got nominated for best song. And then Lauren properly called me out. It's not You Never Had a Friend Like Me. It's You Got a Friend.
You've got a friend in me.
Right, by Randy Newman, who, by the way, okay, guys, hot take, right? Real quick. Who would you rather have to write a soundtrack? Randy Newman or Kenny Loggins?
Kenny Loggins.
Ooh.
Kenny Loggins, 100%. I was never a Randy Newman fan.
I mean, Randy Newman to Major League as well. Randy Newman's solid.
No, his voice bothers me.
John Bear, what's your choice?
It has to be those two.
Yeah, this is a
We can't go like off the deep end, like Trent Reznor for Disney or anything
no,
like that.
Trent Reznor's, dude. It's Kenny Loggins or Randy Newman. Those are the two greatest soundtrack guys of all time.
I gotta go Loggins. It's more edgy for me. It gives me more emotion and feelings rather than appealing to, like, I don't know,
Good call.
the children.
Lauren,
as well
I'm
as the
assuming going to go
adults.
Randy Newman. I can't see her.
Yeah, because I'm like, I mean, I know like Kenny Loggins, but I'm not like, on the Kenny
you're not a Kenny
Loggins
Loggins.
train. I couldn't, I'm not, but
Yeah,
I'm sure he's great.
I would go
I'm sure
Kenny
he's
Loggins.
very
I
successful.
would go Kenny Loggins only because Randy Newman probably only had 3 movies where he was the main guy, and Kenny Loggins is like 5 movies. So yeah,
I'm gonna
winner is
interject
Kenny
Paul,
Loggins.
and say, how dare you not include Lin-Manuel in
It
this?
was literally that will eventually be on a podcast 10 years from now.
Yeah,
It's Lin-Manuel.
He's not there
that
yet.
should have been on here.
He's not there yet, but one day.
Oh yeah,
One
yeah.
day.
That guy's not. Yeah, right.
All right, so Lauren, we'll start with you. Who does your Oscar go to?
I don't. Okay. I'm gonna go back to Randy Newman only because I really can't think of like who else I would give an Oscar to, and I really do love that song. And I didn't know who Randy Newman was like before, but his voice is just so like distinct, and every time I hear that song, it just like I love it. And I love that in Toy Story, I think it was Toy Story 3, they did a Spanish version of it, and I just love that song. So
Awesome.
I'm gonna say Randy Newman.
All right, John Bear, who do you got?
What's the criteria, Pete? Because I get to pick Oscar for this movie or any animated.
No. For this,
You had to give out an Oscar
so it can be
that wasn't.
Yeah, it could be Randy Newman. It could be the composer. It could be the director. It could be an actor, Tom Hanks or Tim Allen. It could be the writer.
Making sure I was right. Okay, that's what I figured.
Like Toy Story.
Yeah.
Boy.
Ooh.
I have full confidence in you, John Bear.
I know who I had, but oh man. I had to go Tom Hanks. I got to go with and this is pure bias.
Yeah, I love that.
No,
This one. It just it's mostly to just see someone so natural because it's Tom Hanks just being Tom Hanks, and he somehow enveloped that into the role of Woody. It didn't feel like he had to try too hard, which I say is a compliment, because he didn't force unnecessary aspects into the character. He was just a normal dude who seemed settled on being a toy.
And like the crazy part, to your point, John, like what makes his performance so great is, I mean, he's literally recording these lines in between films. So he had recorded lines. This was like a 5-year project, right? And so he was shooting Philadelphia. I think, when he got casted for this, and he didn't want to shoot his lines in Philadelphia because it's such a serious film. And he mentions this, like, you know, I didn't want to do this during super serious films because it's just a different character, and like he's not in the right mindset.
Yeah.
So he shot it during, I think, Forrest Gump, and there's another one. I forgot the other film, but he shot this in between certain films and not other films because, again, he wanted to be in character and didn't believe in shooting serious dramas while doing this film. So he was shooting Philadelphia when he initially got casted. Didn't shoot his lines during then, and then waited till like Forrest Gump to actually do his lines. So that was another.
This is crazy. I never knew this. That's awesome.
That's cool.
It's just amazing how natural the man is, and you just
and,
believe him.
And two, what makes his performance so great is because, I mean, he really is like he's an asshole in this movie, right? Like he's in a way he's the villain because, you know, he's the one that, like, you know, he pushes Tim Allen. He pushes Tim Allen against it, and
Get it, but
he tries to sabotage so many things.
Yeah, and he's jealous.
Buzz is an oblivious sort of person that just believes he's something. Meanwhile, the rest of the world understands him as a toy.
Yeah.
But Tom Hanks is that guy who's like being the dick about it. No, you're not.
And I didn't realize that.
You're a toy, and I'm going to keep messing with you the whole time.
Well, and I forgot how much like nobody forgave him, you know? So even at the end, like, he's like, no, guys, I'm actually like, I'm trying to help him. And they're still like, no, push him. They literally push him out of the moving truck at the end. You know what I mean? And so like the whole movie, he's really trying to verify that he's actually a good guy, but he's the one that started because he was jealous of the new toy. You know what I mean? And again, that's like part of the great thematic parts that Pete, you were talking about earlier with the screenplay, like why this is such a great screenplay is the protagonist is actually a guy that, you know, made mistakes and doesn't actually have a very appealing initially. But to John's point, it had to be Tom Hanks, because if you vote for somebody else, or if someone else is that voice, nobody else has that sort of credibility that Tom Hanks has, where you're going to forgive him. You know what I mean? And I think that's why, again, like why he was such a great casting choice was you need somebody that is allowed the freedom to make mistakes and to be bad, because eventually, you know, it's like, I'm going to like this guy at the end, but he needs to fail initially. And that's a tough role, because that's not for everybody.
That's why Tom Hanks gets the award.
That's right. All right, Pete Dog, what do you got?
Well, I for the longest time I was stuck on this idea that it should have been the best picture because it was so historic um, and revolutionary. But then you look at like who was up for the best picture of the year. It was like
The same
Forrest
guy,
Gump,
right?
Pulp
Oh,
Fiction,
yeah.
Shawshank Redemption.
Oh,
Like
dang.
Shawshank Redemption was
One of the
like
greatest-
one of the best movies ever.
Yeah, that is.
Well, it's one of the
Um,
greatest years of films of all time.
so many amazing life-giving lines spoken in that movie. So I had to kind of get rid of that one because it was a ridiculous argument. So I went with Tom Hanks as well, only because the thing that I had loved Tom Hanks the most for at that point was Big. And why did I like him in Big was because he played an adult who was still a kid. And so he had this way of performing like a child, but still as an adult. And so this sort of animated voice that we heard was very much an encapsulation of that talent. And so I thought that what he was able to perform without seeing him, what he was able to perform with just his voice was something that there's not a lot of actors that could have pulled that off. I can't even think of one that I would have recast. And I know that's coming up on your list. Like there's nobody I would have casted at Woody. It wouldn't have been the same because Tom Hanks just has a way. We've talked about this before in previous podcasts, Paul, about how Tom Hanks he makes you feel safe whenever you see him perform. And this was another, even though he was not the nicest of characters, there was still something about his voice that just made you feel safe, and that you knew that this was going to be a redemption story at the end of the day. You knew that he was going to change his ways, and he and Buzz were going to be such incredible friends. But even if you knew that going into it, it was the journey that you had to go along to sort of come to that kind of realization. And it was just phenomenal. Tom Hanks, best actor.
Yeah, for sure. And if again, and Pete, you've read Creativity Inc., and so how important he is to the journey. Like part of what gave everybody the confidence to push through on this film was the fact that Tom Hanks was attached to it. And Tom Hanks, I'm trying to remember stuff from the book, but I believe some of the initial takes, he was like, no, like let's do this, and this. And he was a big influence on the film. And again, like the final, from what the original story was to the final product was a big leaps and changes. And again, Tom Hanks was a big part of that change because, he was fully bought into the character and all that. And again, John Lasseter also made big changes there as well. And so my award is going to go to John Lasseter only for the leadership aspect. Now I'll give the point to both John and Pete for Tom Hanks. I think that's a good choice. But my choice is John. My choice is John Lasseter only because reading the books and knowing like this film needed the leader of a John Lasseter type, a visionary that was not going to put up with everybody. And yes, he got the Special Achievement Award, but this started the legacy of John Lasseter in terms of, again, what Pixar did. He was the leader of Pixar, and he got so many people to rally around him, and he sold this vision to people. And again, it became the greatest, ultimately the greatest animation film of all time in terms of sales and all that good stuff, and revolutionary. So that's my award. But again, Pete and John will both get a point for this. Sorry, Lauren.
Good point.
It's okay.
So that puts us at John and Lauren are tied at 2 apiece, and then Pete has one. Only Pete's down by 1. So obviously it's a very competitive game, guys. And,
anyone's game right here. Anyone's game.
Yeah. And so our next category is going to be the Get Me Ari Gold Award. This is casting notes. So again, Pete already mentioned this. Besides Tom Hanks and Tim Allen, who would you cast for Buzz and Woody? So I'm gonna list off a few names that were considered for Buzz and for Woody. I need the combination of the two. Who do you think would do it best? Understand that you cannot get Tom Hanks, you cannot get Tim Allen, okay? Because I think we both agree they're fantastic already choices for it. So for Buzz Lightyear, Billy Crystal, Chevy Chase, Jim Carrey, Bill Murray, Mel Gibson, Bruce Willis were all considered for the Buzz Lightyear character. For Woody, Paul Newman, Paul Hogan, Clint Eastwood, Sean Connery, Robin Williams, Martin Short, Kevin Kline, Alec Baldwin, Robert De Niro, Tommy Lee Jones, Emilio Estevez, Charlie Sheen, John Goodman, Dustin Hoffman, and Steve Guttenberg were all considered for the role of Woody. So I'm going to start with you, Lauren. Give me your combination for Buzz and Woody, but you have to give me a different combination than Tom Hanks and Tim Allen. What is your choice, Lauren Cardiel?
Okay. So my choice for Woody is John Goodman. Again, I think he's proven himself in Disney films. He's done, he was the voice of Sully in Monsters Incorporated. He voiced one of the characters in Princess and the Frog. So I think, again, he kind of has that, like that dad kind of like demeanor of like how I think it was that Peter said, you know, he makes you feel safe. Like when I think of John Goodman, you think of Roseanne and the dad. And like, I just think he has that like really strong like aura about him. Yeah. And for Buzz, I'm going to say Bruce Willis. Again, like he has that like very deep kind of like, you know, I know he's like an action star. So, you know, putting him from like his action movie roles into like an animated action character, I think that would be a really good fit.
I like that. That's a good answers. John Bear, what do you got?
Ooh, this is a tough one for me. I'm going Harrison Ford for Woody.
He's not on the list.
Just always dug the dude's voice. Huh?
He's not on the list. Are you on Rogue here?
It has to be your
rogue.
list?
He's going Rogue. It's all right.
Oh, it has to be your list? Okay.
No, I mean, theoretically it doesn't have. It theoretically doesn't have to be. I mean, again,
he's out of the running.
If you want to go Rogue, it's a little more uphill battle if you choose somebody not on the list. But you got to tell me
I
why.
wasn't trying to go Rogue. I do apologize for just trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And stay true to who.
Listen, a casting director doesn't have rules and regulations, so you're
doing
the right thing.
This is why if you make the right argument, I can overrule it. So. Do you want?
I do just like he's a classic voice, Harrison Ford. I think he could have pulled off Woody pretty solid, man. I mean, of course, I think all of us fans of Indy and you know Han Solo, we hear it. He was just a big enough character where I think he could have played it well.
Yeah, I don't try that. By the way,
Lightyear.
By the way, it's a great selection. By the way, I'm not even mad at you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I have a lot of trouble with Buzz Lightyear though, because of my Harrison Ford election. I don't know who could go opposite of him and just be that superhero. But I would say possibly De Niro could pull it off. Just to play in tandem with Harrison. So I'm
De Niro was going for Woody. So again, you're going another hot pick again. De Niro was going for Woody.
Let's start taking points away.
He's sizzling.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I can see Harrison, Woody, and we'll go with De Niro for Buzz.
Okay, wow,
solid role.
John going outside the box.
I could picture them. I'm just getting their voices in the room together. I could hear them going at it for the whole movie, back and forth. I love the contrast.
Okay. Pete Dog, what do you got? Are you gonna?
I mean,
stick to the script here. You can go more off the beaten path like John Bear did. What do you?
I'm gonna go crazy and stick with the script a little bit.
Okay.
For Buzz, nobody on that list could have had that same sort of same tone as Tim Allen did, other than Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson would be the only one that can really kind of have that. I mean, we saw it in later films where he does have that sort of voice where it can be very, very authoritative, but also very military.
Freedom!
He I think would have been a good choice for that. For Woody, if I didn't get Tom Hanks, I would have canceled the production. But if I had to put a gun to my head off of that list,
which is what we're doing right now, literally.
Which is what we're doing, gun to my head. I mean, I might have to go Alec Baldwin, only because he can be very serious but very comedic at the same time. He has very playful moments in his career, in his acting. So, I mean, that's the only reason why I went with him, because the other people on the list, I never really saw a lot of childlike acting.
Yeah.
And Alec Baldwin, I've seen it here and there. Anyways, that's me.
Wow, you guys. So
Can I say something real quick, Pete?
sure.
Okay. So they actually really, really wanted for Buzz Billy Crystal. Like that was
Right.
like
They offered it. They offered it. Yeah, they offered it.
Sure.
Yeah, they offered it to him, and he did
no.
they wanted him so bad that they did like, you know, an animation of Buzz Lightyear to one of his
She's trying to
one
pull
of his
Dominique
scenes.
right now.
She is.
One of his scenes from When Harry Met Sally, and I watched it, and it's like there's absolutely no way it could have been Billy Crystal. So that was just wanted to add that.
No,
little
that's
fun
a fun fact. The good news, Pete,
Yeah.
the good news, Pete, is that it actually doesn't prove her point at all. So
Okay, yeah, exactly.
but that is
Yeah,
actually,
no.
I did read about that. That is super interesting.
I'm always wary when somebody says, "Oh, by the way, one more thing."
Yes.
By the way.
That's a sneaky way to steal a point.
No.
Okay, guys, I'm not gonna lie. It's Pete and Lauren have those are good combinations.
on.
I'm gonna go with Lauren only because honestly, I think John Goodman, I think would be sneaky really good. And Bruce Willis,
by the way, this is my last podcast ever.
And I think Bruce Willis, I think could have crushed it too, because Bruce Willis is he's got that more Tim Allen tone to him, where he's just so confident.
Oh my God, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
I think
that is ridiculous.
That's a good
Bruce Willis. That guy's got no.
Mel
he
Gibson
doesn't have a range. He has one voice.
Yeah, and that's what you want. That's the same as Tim Allen. You act like Tim Allen has.
But Mel Gibson's got that military style, the way that Tim Allen performed that thing. Whatever.
I don't think at that time.
You're the moderator, so
I don't think at that time Mel Gibson had it. So I'm trying to be at this time. So you're talking Die Hard versus Lethal Weapon. Essentially, is the bet, Pete? So I'm choosing Lethal Weapon. I'm sorry. I'm choosing Die Hard over Lethal Weapon. At this time, again, I'm not doing hindsight. I think Mel Gibson eventually is a better, probably, but not at that time. So
he would have been good for Toy Story 4. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much.
He would have been ready by Toy Story 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, if they had to recast them all.
You're ahead of your time. So Lauren is going to get the point on this one. But Pete, that was you were right there. Strong list. John Bear, I love your creativity. You didn't follow directions at all, but man, I love that. A couple of the casting.
You said nothing. Can I mention one thing?
It's all good.
You said nothing about following your list.
I love the creativity. A couple other casting notes. Rick Moranis was considered for Rex the dinosaur, and Lisa Kudrow as Bo Peep. Those are any other casting notes that I had there. So this, guys, is going to lead us into our this one's going to be a hot topic, but our top 5 songs in animation films.
It's tough.
This one was tough. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know how confident I am in my list, but
I'm so confident in mine.
Yeah, I'm sure you are.
Give the point to Pete. Give it to him.
I'm sure half of Pete's songs are gonna be in the new Paws of Fury film coming out July 15th.
No. Spoiler, there's no Paws of Fury in this list.
So Pete, we are gonna start with you. Give us your top 5.
By the way, comes out in July 15th.
Give us your top 5 animation films.
Okay, this was a difficult task at first, but then as I started to break it down, I realized that there's really only like 10 really great songs that were actually written for an animated movie, not that were put into an animated, but that were written for it. And so number 5, I have What's This from The Nightmare Before Christmas. This was an innovative song at the time.
It is.
It was Danny Elfman combining his Oingo Boingo style and putting it into a classic movie that we had never really seen before in The Nightmare Before Christmas. And this song, I used to sing it every day. This was a great song. What's This? Nightmare Before Christmas.
Okay.
Number 4, Whole New World, Aladdin. Beautiful song, classic song.
A whole new world.
Beautiful.
A new fantastic
That's it.
point of view.
Yes.
And moving forward,
For our
and
fans there.
when that scene comes on, it was the right time for a song as powerful as that.
Yeah.
I struggled between that and Beauty and the Beast, but that one takes the cake for me. Number 3 is Let It Go. You can't have a bigger song in the world. You can't find a child, out there who doesn't sing that song 55,000 times a day. It's the biggest song in Disney history. Before,
actually, I think all
before
time.
Before Bruno came out.
Yeah.
Let It Go was the biggest song ever by Disney, and then all of a sudden Bruno came out, which my 2-year-old sings Bruno.
What are you talking about? Happy?
No, Bruno. We don't talk about Bruno.
We don't talk about Bruno, Paul.
Canto. Come on, man. You serious?
Yeah, sorry guys.
I'm serious.
Oh, Sirius just talked to me right now and responded, said, yes, no, I'm serious. No,
yeah, I was like, what was that?
That was my Sirius.
Cool. Little soundbite sound.
Ollie, you're down to -2 points after that comment, just so you know.
Yeah,
I told you guys, literally the least probably fucking experienced person for this podcast is me. Like
Let It Go, number 3.
If I could cut myself from this podcast, I would.
Number 2 for me is, and the only reason why I didn't put the movie like Paul did, but the song Somewhere Out There in An American Tale was one of the best songs I think I've ever heard in my life. And I still sing it to this day.
If you guys want to hear it live, I'll be there on Thursday singing that song.
Beautiful.
Love it.
Number one for me is the song that started it all, and is you can't go anywhere in the world without hearing this song, which is When You Wish Upon a Star from Pinocchio.
Yep.
That is, it's the most repeated line, I think, in music history, even more so than the Beatles or anybody who's super popular. And everyone always references that song.
The Cinderella? I'm sorry, guys.
Pinocchio.
Pinocchio. Oh my God.
Pinocchio.
I'm so bad.
Jesus.
Okay.
Shout out to
Pinocchio.
He's
That's a solid
judging my lists.
I know.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, Pete, your list is pretty good. That was actually one of your better lists. John Bear, what do you have? Wow me.
Mine are in no particular order, but I'll try to put them.
John, they have
They're probably not even songs in animated films.
They have to be,
right?
by definition.
Ain't Nothing But a Gangster Party by Tupac and
Yeah, exactly.
and Snoop. It's all 5 songs that make me smile just because of my kids. So it's probably the 5 songs I sing most with my kids.
John, you want to probably put them in some sort of order?
Movies.
You just probably want to put them in some sort of order just because you are going to be judged on the order. So if you want to.
Number 5. All right. Number 5 would be We Don't Talk About Bruno. Just because of the revenue it drove. And of course, all my kids sang it, like immediately went to the drive-in to see that. I forget if it was opening weekend, but it was right around there. We go to the drive-in, and I just remember wrestling with the kids to try to keep them, in line and not yelling throughout the whole movie so people could, really enjoy the movie around it. And to be honest, it felt like they were being wild the whole movie. And I loved the day, but we immediately leave the drive-in.
Lauren's shaking her head.
And
I'm falling asleep.
and all the kids are singing the song immediately. Like all 5 kids are singing We Don't Talk About Bruno, and I had no idea they even paid attention to the song. So you kind of
it was our
immediate inclination that the song might be something catchy.
John, did you say all 5 kids? We don't have 5 kids.
Yeah. Well, I included you. And
you don't know about the 2 other kids, guys.
Yeah. His other family was in the car next to you.
Lauren, spoiler alert, John's got 2 other kids.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. She kind of
Number 4. Number 4. John.
Well, wait,
Crazy that he was in a drive-in. Like they have drive-ins.
Number 4.
Yeah, really? Like where? Oh, but even before that, guys, educate us.
John went back in time in a DeLorean to where he can like watch drive-in movies.
Guys, I hate to ask this question, but what film is that from? That song?
Encanto.
Encanto? I saw Encanto.
No,
you
don't say.
didn't like it. Remember,
It's
you didn't
not
like
called-
it.
Encanto. I saw Encanto.
It's not called
Encanto. I
Encanto.
remember Encanto.
I like this
Encanto.
Encanto.
I was thinking about Dennis and Chili, and I went to saw
Talk about
Encanto.
Bruno? I don't remember that song at all. All right, fair enough.
All right, number 4. How
This is the
Far
judge.
I'll Go from Moana
Moana was
song.
Moana
I
was
dig,
a
the original version and the
beautiful
Alicia Cara
movie.
version. Great
Yeah.
versions to both those songs. Love singing it with the kids.
COVID.
Number 4 would probably be A Whole New World. I kind of forced that one on the kids, but because I remember singing that more as a child myself. Great movie, but a couple of them will sing it, but not as much as the top 2.
Never good to
that was-
force yourself on a kid.
That's number 3, right, John Barry?
Same.
Number 3?
Yeah, that's actually came out bad.
Yeah, he said
Force a
4.
song.
Yeah, try not to force yourself on kids, John.
Yeah, that's really bad.
Thanks. Thank you, guys.
Lauren just left you.
Yeah,
That's it.
literally
There
just-
it goes.
It's like I'm out.
She's over there yelling at kids right now. Number 2, Let It Go. Because I
Yeah.
remember my little princesses singing that for days and weeks and months at a time.
And you.
And then I sang it, and we all wore dresses and sang it more than once. So
So cute.
that's number 2. And then number 1 for me is Part of Your World, just because I do sing that most nights to put the kids to sleep. And it makes me realize that I'll never be a good singer, but every night I try to sing my heart away, hoping to hold
Little Mermaid?
key and
Part
hold
of Your
tone.
World? Wish I could
Yes.
be.
Good, Paul.
part
Very
of-
Part
good.
of your, yeah,
Good job.
from Little Mermaid. Yeah,
I'm crushing it.
great song.
Lauren, let's hear your top 5.
Go, Lauren.
Okay. Well, like my husband, my number 5 was We Don't Talk About Bruno.
Wow.
The amazing Lin-Manuel Miranda. You got to hear it.
Oh
And
my
I think
god.
it's a song that doesn't, for me anyways, it didn't hit me at first, but the more we started watching that movie, it's everywhere. And let me tell you, when it comes on at a wedding or a party, game over.
I mean, how many weddings
Oh.
have you been to? It came
Okay.
out in December, so it's like,
Okay, one wedding.
Okay,
But they
thank
played
you.
it. They played it, and
It was going on.
I lost
No,
my shit.
people-
So
I imagine if they
Yeah.
played that anywhere, like a baseball stadium or anywhere, people would just go bananas.
I guarantee that song was mixed in somewhere at EDC this year. Like it's that big.
moms lose their
Someone
mind.
mixed that into their set.
Yeah, moms
Crazy,
lose their
my-
mind. It was very, very, very viral song on TikTok.
Yeah, like I said, my 2-year-old runs around singing. We don't talk about Bruno. He sings the song.
guys, I saw that movie.
That's-
I've
that's
literally
really the only
never
one
heard
he
that song at
sings.
all, but again, this
Well,
is
okay,
I'm
we'll add
the-
that
When-
to the
Where have you been not to
weeks.
know that song is popular?
Yeah, no. This is why I'm obviously not qualified for this podcast. So.
Okay, number 4. I think this might be the. Oh no. Peter had
Thank
Bible, but Can't Stop the Feeling from Trolls. I think that's
Wow.
just like it's a really
Yeah.
feel good
Oh my
song.
God.
Love me some Justin Timberlake and
Can't
Anna
stop
Kendrick.
feeling.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can't
Oh, for
say don't you would
Yeah.
just dance. Yeah, no, that song.
So yeah,
I
it's
didn't even
super.
think
It's
about
super
that
fun
song.
for our dance parties or kids dance parties that we have, and so
No, and that was
Yeah.
probably adults too. I mean, that.
yeah.
I think I even
I
have
love
it on the playlist somewhere.
Somebody
Number
said at one of my previous jobs, they were like, "Oh, Justin Timberlake totally sold out with that song because I'm like, shut the fuck up! What are you talking about? That song is
JT doing
the
his thing.
biggest song.
Yeah.
He's
My
a
daughter
genius.
sang that song for about 4 years.
See, it's timeless.
So good.
Okay, number
great
3. Number 3, Part of Your World. Again, I've talked about this song. The amazing Jodie Benson, who voices Ariel. Love
Mhm.
her. We'll all be on the rocks this summer, just doing our thing. Again, I get to hear John sing it, most nights to Mackenzie.
Sing that shit.
He just sings his little heart out. So it's also one of my go-to karaoke songs. So,
Yeah.
if you're ever lucky to catch a rendition of that.
Thank God it's
If-
that and
if
not
you're lucky.
Black Velvet.
Black Velvet.
Okay.
Every girl thinks that
num-
they can sing Black Velvet when they're in a karaoke bar. It's like, no, you can't.
Oh,
can't do
actually, I knew the one girl that could sing it, but she was an amazing singer. John Bear, do you know Julietta? Julietta could sing that song.
Do you sing it? Never heard it.
Juliana.
Ooh, she's so cool.
No, she was like a professional singer.
Wasn't she like a singer on a cruise ship or something?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She was like an actual professional singer. So
I think they actually make you audition to every cruise ship with that song, Black Velvet.
Yeah,
I could be wrong.
She had a
but,
ridiculous voice.
She must be able to sing the song then.
Hashtag
Oh,
go.
I do remember. I do remember that name now.
Yeah.
Number 2, from a little film called Pinocchio, Paul, When You Wish Upon a Star.
Mhm.
Thank you. Like Peter said, it's just, for me, that song, again, like when you talk about a song like evoking these feelings of like nostalgia, in my mind, I'm like immediately transported to like Disneyland. I think fireworks. I think, you know, most Disney movies, when they, you know, come on the screen, it's playing that song, and it's just a really, really beautiful song. The instrumental version of that, you know, I could fall asleep to it. So it's just
it really makes no difference who you are. You really love the song.
In most promos and most advertisements and little pieces in Disney history have always used "When You Wish Upon a Star." Like that's like, it's almost like a Disney theme. Like that one line.
Makes me think of Walt, makes me think of Disney, makes me think of being at Disneyland. I love that song. And my number one is A Whole New World, from Aladdin. Again, I just remember being a little girl and like putting out like, you know, like a mat or a blanket and like reenacting that song. Like, I really love the Regina Belle and Peebo Bryson. That's like the ones that sang it at the end of the film. Right. And, you know, I thought I was,
anytime you get Peebo Bryson on a song, you're winning. You know what I mean?
Peebo. Kids don't know about Peebo, man.
Yeah. We don't talk about Peebo.
We don't talk about Peebo.
So yeah, I love that song. I thought I was like America's Next Greatest Singer singing that song, and
that's a great song.
It's a great song. It's my list.
So I'll give you my list. I think you guys have a little bit more. Obviously, I think you guys are more entrenched in this world than I am. So I'm gonna give you my list. This is probably one of my least. Giving lists. This is probably the list I stand least by, but I still think it's a solid list. But my number 5 is "You Ain't Never Had a Friend Like Me," the Aladdin version, obviously. I love that song. You know, Robin Williams. My number 4 is "Be Our Guest" from Beauty and the Beast. My number 3 is "Let It Go," and it's maybe not. And it's more about, I just understand how big that song was, and like Pete said earlier, like every kid knows that song probably the most. Number 2 is just one of my favorite songs. I don't even think it's that great of a song, but it's just probably the song that I literally sing the most, and it's Prince Ali Ababa. I don't think it's probably actually the number 2 song, but it's just like in terms of like a song I can sing. And the number 1, which I actually do think is the greatest song of all time, is "Somewhere Out There." And again, I think and this is where I think both John and Lauren, you get penalized because you didn't have it on your list. But "Somewhere Out There" to me is the greatest soundtrack song of all time, because it was not just a movie song. It was a song that is still great to this day. And so because of Pete is the only one that had it on the list, Pete gets the point. And Lauren, I thought you had a solid list. Even John, I thought you had a solid list. A couple songs I didn't know, but you both had solid lists, but you didn't include that song. And I don't know how you can make a list without that song on it. I
gotta say, I'm really honored to get a point from somebody who has no idea about animation at all.
It means a lot.
Yeah, it means a lot.
It means a lot.
Honestly, I think for John and Lauren just not even have that song on your list, I think it's negligent. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like driving drunk. Like you should not be on the road right now.
Yeah, we failed in so many
Somewhere Out
ways.
There is one of the greatest duets. And again, if you actually like also thematically in the film, it's one of the best songs in a film, because you're literally talking about this time where Fievel's losing hope and he's lost, and his sister sings the song, and it's what kind of gives him a little bit more hope that like, hey, maybe somewhere out there we're going to connect again. And again, I think it's not just thematically one of the best songs, but it actually like how it plays into a movie. It's so powerful. And again, it's so emotional for me, which is why, again, guys, if you're free on Thursday, you might be able to see me singing that song. So moving on to the next.
Okay.
So the score, guys, is it's 2-2-2-3. So Pete got 2, John got 2, Lauren has 3. So Lauren's still in the lead.
Yeah. We should burn through these next ones.
Yeah, we got to burn through because we're definitely behind schedule.
I think that was it for like the top 5, right?
No, we got one more.
No, we got one more.
We got one more, which I'm not even going to compete in the next one because I'm not even qualified. But okay, so let's burn through these next ones, guys, because we need to wrap this up. So It's Not Your Fault. Obviously from the famous scene of Good Will Hunting. So this is the most powerful emotional scene for you. What was the most? And I'm going to start with Pete on this one. Pete, what was your most powerful emotional scene for you in this film?
Well, there's a lot of scenes in this movie that were really amazing, but I think the one that really got me the most is when Buzz finally sees the commercial of himself as a toy. Yeah. And he finally realizes that he's like, oh shit, I'm a toy. And he just gets so bummed. But meanwhile, that's right at the same time that like Woody is all charged up about like helping him and himself to escape. And like, so Woody's on this upswing and all of a sudden now he's on this downswing. And so now it's like, it really causes this huge conflict in the story. And it's really quite incredible. I got really sad for Buzz because, you know, you were pulling for Buzz. Like he was so hopefully optimistic about what his role in this world was supposed to be. And then he saw the commercial and everything just came crashing down. It was tough. It was a tough watch.
No, I agree. That's excellent. John Bear, what do you got?
I think a really big moment of this movie and for the franchise is when Bo Peep states, "I found my moving buddy."
That's a good one.
This goes very deep into the fact that eventually a friendship is crushed in movie 4, and Woody leaves his best friend for such Bo Peep. So I don't want to go down that road. But it's just a moment in the movie where it's okay for Disney to say, you know what, we want females to go for the alpha male and not find out about who the other guys in the room are. She immediately saw Buzz, quote unquote, fly, and she was impressed. And I feel that's what's wrong with most of society is that you're impressed by things at face value and you don't dig deep enough. So that line is big to me there. Sorry, little girls, you don't have to go for the alpha male. You can go for whoever is the smartest or the geekiest or just the most original in the room.
Because they
That's right, ladies. That's right.
Yeah, I found my moving buddy.
Right. Good close there, John Bear. Lauren, what do you?
That was deep. Okay, so similar to Pete, mine is when Buzz is at Sid's house and he's trying to escape. He sees the open window. You have like Randy Newman like singing a song in the background, and it's like kind of like this climactic moment where he's like, no, like I am gonna fly, like I'm gonna get out this window right now. So he like clicks on his thing, his wings pop open, and Randy Newman's like singing his little heart out, and he goes to infinity and beyond, and he takes off and he just eats shit. Yeah. And his poor little Buzz self with his arm out of his socket, and he's like this, and you just see his little eyes going like, fuck.
Yeah.
I'm a toy.
Yeah.
I really can't fly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would tell. Obviously all of those are great scenes. I think for me, I think it was when it's right after that where, and I almost would agree with Pete in terms of like, yeah, it's definitely emotional when Tim Allen like is really down on his luck. But then when Tom Hanks, sees all the I forgot his term for the toys, but all the like these half toys, he thinks they're attacking Buzz Lightyear, but they're actually putting his arm back together. And then he realized like, oh no, these guys are not cannibals. They're actually trying to help him. And again, it just shifts the movie into like these are my friends. Like, let's we can get out of here. And again, it's just kind of a big kind of shift.
Don't judge a book by its cover, Paul.
Exactly, Pete. Exactly. So,
Yeah.
I'm gonna. Yeah, I don't like doing this because
You got to do this. You got to give it to me on that one.
I think it should be a tie.
I mean, you can support.
I was thinking about the tie. I'm gonna give it to Pete because
Platforming alpha males.
that's actually the scene I thought first. So I'm just gonna go with my instinct. I'm gonna give Pete the point on this one because that was the scene that I thought as well. Like, it's again, you saw a confident guy really not be confident, and it was a big pivotal moment.
I think it's headed up.
It sucks again, like Buzz Lightyear. He was so confident, and then like he kept thinking he's the real Buzz Lightyear. And this is what's going to be interesting about this film, the new film.
Lauren said,
but yeah, when he realized he's just a toy, like that's a big moment. So I'll give Pete the point on this one. But Lauren, you had a great choice. John, interesting choice. I love your creativity.
Yeah, very creative.
Very creative. Okay, guys, next.
I get a participation ribbon.
Yeah, you're gonna get a nice participation rating tonight.
You'll be lucky to be asked back, John. Okay.
Sorry for keeping it real.
So our next category, we have Ma the Meatloaf. This is the funniest or best feel-good moment. So again, aim for funniest. We already kind of did feel good, but aim for the funniest on this one. Start with Lauren. Lauren, go ahead.
Oh, well, I was gonna do feel good, but you want funniest.
Either or, just
okay.
if it's different than what you have before, then it's fine.
Okay. Okay, then I'm just gonna stick with my original feel good. My feel good, to piggyback off of my sad one, is when they're trying to catch up to the moving truck, and then Buzz starts flying, and Woody's like, Buzz, you're flying. And he's like, that's not flying, it's falling with style. And then Woody then goes to infinity and beyond. And I just thought it was really cool how the roles kind of switched. He was so pumped for his friend because he's like, look, you're flying. And then Woody got to say to infinity and beyond. And I just thought that was
I loved that moment.
Harder.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, when Woody said that line, that was incredible.
Yeah, when Woody got to say it, I was like, game over.
And Tom Hanks just delivered it perfectly.
So
that's great writing for sure. Okay, John Bear, what do you got?
Ooh, you are a toy. It's when instantly Woody becomes an antagonist in the movie and actually drives the plot. So we kind of dived on it earlier, how instantly the audience knows you're going to forgive Tom Hanks, but it does separate and moves the plot. Instantly with that, they separate him from the crew. He's no longer the alpha of the group and the protagonist.
Why is that funny?
I thought it was a hilarious line, to be honest with you.
His delivery is funny.
Delivery.
His delivery is hilarious.
I mean, we're going off script this whole time. I thought we could just be ourselves. No,
hey, good luck at that point. Good luck at trying to get that point, man.
I mean, your last guest is disqualified. I think her name's Lauren too, because she just put a heartwarming, non-funny line out there too. So I'm just going with
feel good. Feel good.
Yeah.
Feel good. Yeah.
Feel good.
Feel good.
Feel good.
She had
so
feel
first
good.
off, it was a hilarious line where he says that.
Remember the category guys is Ma the Meatloaf from
Meatloaf.
Wedding Crashers. Yeah. So understand the category, guys.
Well, then don't say feel good.
No, well, because some movies aren't funny, super funny. So that's why I put feel good as well. But let's see, Pete, this is
all right. Pete,
you're pretty much cheating up.
Come in with the.
All right, Pete's gonna come to the rescue.
You're pretty much teed up for a victory here, Pete. What do you got?
I got two. I have a funniest and a best feel good moment. Just saying. I think the funniest moment is when Slinky Dog is talking about how cool Woody is, and Mr. Potato takes off his lips and he starts putting it on his butt like he's kissing his ass. I remember the first time I saw that, I started just dying. It was the most hilarious moment I think I've ever seen, and it was a split second. It was so fast, but it was the funniest thing in that movie. Best feel good moment when um, Andy and his mom get back from Lauren's favorite place, the Pizza Planet, and he opens the door, and what he says is, he asks his mom, have you seen Woody? I can't find Woody. He didn't say Buzz. He said, I can't find Woody. And I remember just feeling really incredible about it, because in his heart of hearts, Woody was still like his main toy, and that was his dude. And Tom Hanks didn't have to, or Woody didn't have to feel the way he felt. And that's a huge lesson in your life. You don't need to be jealous, and you don't need to be competitive when you know in your heart of hearts that you are the true sort of, person for that person. So,
well, guys, Pete just pretty much put a master class on explanation there. I don't think he actually picked the best scene, but his explanation was the best. And Pete's gonna get the point on that
Best
one.
explanation.
Yeah, that was just the best explanation. Pete won on explanation. My
He's gone up one on you. He's 1 point ahead of you, Lauren.
I almost
That's
teared
not
up.
the category. Explanation is not the category.
no,
But I will say,
explanation was everything. But so my
I
scene.
will say, I do agree with Pete, and I think
Oh,
that's
Lauren was agreeing with me. Hold on, go ahead, Lauren.
yeah, 100%. When he said has to be funniest, literally, Pete, that is exactly what I would have chosen. Just
So my scene on it.
I love Mr. Potato Head.
In terms of funniest, what for me, what I loved about this film was so the voice is the guy from Stanley Kubrick's Full Metal Jacket, and he's the real life general, and he became an actor, so he's the lead army guy. So like when they do the reconnaissance scene, and he's like, all right guys, all right soldiers, like and they just do this full on like recon, and like that was for me, like, again, this is early on in the film, and this is what you're just like, oh, you're watching a different
Move.
yeah, like you're just watching it. To me, it's what sold me on the film. It's like, oh, you're watching a different film. We've never seen this type of humor in an animation film before, and for me, that's like my favorite, because again, like we all had those army toys. So going back to like John's original point, like there's nostalgia, again, the aligning of great character actor. That was like, again, to me, it was a home run in terms of voice acting, and then the army soldiers. Excellent filmmaking. So that would be my scene. So yeah, but Pete gets the point on this one. Mainly for his
But that's the great thing about this movie, is that you can watch it again and again, and each time you watch it, you just pick up on something. I didn't pick up on that thing of him asking where Woody is in his car when they got back, until I saw it a few days ago or last night. It was the first time I saw it and realized that he was asking for Woody at that moment. So you always find something with this movie. That's what makes it so great.
Awesome. All right, guys, next category is line please. So this is just your best individual quote from the film. And so I believe, Pete, we're going to start with you.
We'll go with Pete. Yeah, Lauren needs a second. She ran after it.
What's your best
Needs a
quote?
second.
Yeah, that's the pizza port right now.
The one that I always quote all the time is from Rex. And when he's starting to get really flustered, and he's just like, I don't like confrontations. Like, that's it. That was the line. But the way he delivers it always made me laugh. And I always say it, like, whenever somebody's like pressuring me, I just like get really like, I don't like confrontations.
Yeah.
And that's it.
All right,
One of the best
John,
delivered lines in the movie.
Oh, I've mentioned it already. I found my moving buddy.
Yeah, that one's a good one.
So good.
Powerful line. I mean, as much as I don't like the line, I like the line. I don't like it for reasons that I've mentioned earlier, because it, dissing the homie Woody. But I think so many people just say that in just regular society now in passing. When you see something attractive or someone's attractive, you just say, I found my moving buddy.
Oh, I'd get that.
Yeah, I'd hit that. I think that's what it's turned into.
Yeah.
I'd hit that. I found my moving buddy.
So I'll
So
go to
gross.
mine just because we're waiting. Oh, Lauren. Okay, Lauren, go to yours because
There she is.
looking at mine.
Hi, Lauren.
What are best line?
Best quote, yeah.
Best quote. Best quote to infinity and beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not fair. We all know that's the best quote. I mean, the subject should be anything but that quote.
Why?
You
John,
can't,
sometimes simplicity.
you can't
is-
argue that at all. That's the best
It's
line from the
obviously
movie.
the best line in the movie.
Oh,
Well, then you
well,
should've
I
said it.
picked it, and
Yeah,
so it's best line.
And she's literally the only one that picked it. So yeah, she's
Hey,
smart.
John, if you and I were smart, we would have both said that line as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
And then
The reason why I love it too is because when my kids, mostly my son, when he tells me that he loves me, he tells me he loves me to infinity and beyond. And I just love that,
My God.
like, it's a
David,
line from a movie, and he
Everybody's crying.
associates it.
everybody's
with,
crying
like,
on our
an
podcast right now.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the cutest thing I've ever heard.
By the way, guys, I just told you a
does.
second ago. Exclamation wins everything. Lauren crushed that explanation right now because all of our audience right now is crying because she brought her son involved now, and yeah, it's game over. Obviously, guys, Lauren's gonna get the point here. And so okay, I don't have a quote. I don't have a quote from the movie, but this is the one thing that just made me love it as a filmmaker. So I'm gonna go off the topic here. But obviously, I don't get points anyway. But John Lasseter reflecting on the impact of the movie, saying, yes, we worried about critics say. Yes, we worried about the opening box office is going to be. Yes, we worried about the final box office is going to be. But really, the whole point why we do what we do is to entertain our audiences. The greatest joy I get as a filmmaker is to slip into an audience for one of our movies anonymously and watch people watch our film. Because people are 100% honest when they're watching a movie. And to see the joy on people's faces, to see people really get into our films, to me is the greatest reward I can possibly get. I read that, and that epitomizes me in terms of like everything that I do in life. And that's
But that wasn't in the movie.
it wasn't, which is why, Pete, I go outside the box. But it's the
John's rubbing off on you.
it's the greatest quote. Yeah, no, seriously. It's the greatest quote, period, because again, to me, this is what it epitomizes this movie, and why this movie is so great is because this movie just isn't about being a movie. This is about the impact it makes on everybody's lives. And it's about creating history. It's about making history. And at the same time, it's about impacting people's lives. And that's what this movie does. And Lauren, you get the point. Great job. And so Lauren is now up 4-3.
Lauren's up.
4-3-2.
Crazy.
John still has an outside chance to win, but I think you need to win the rest of everything, John Bear. So
There's only 2 more left.
yeah, there's only 2 more left. So
But I'm only 1 behind Lauren, no?
yeah, you're one behind.
Yeah.
So our next category is director's chair, guys. What would you change about this film? Obviously, I think there's a lot of things, and also when we say what would you change about this film, try and be in 1995. Understand, again, technology is not on your side. What would you change about this film? And I'm going to start with Lauren.
Oh gosh, my good thing you started with me first because mine's not good. I thought about this for a long time and I thought, what would I change? And to me, it's such a good film that I don't know what I would change. Going back to my mom hat, and it's so silly. They say the word stupid and shut up a lot in this movie. So if anything,
Man.
Oh,
I
boy.
know,
Here we
but
go.
when our
Here we
kids
go.
are watching it, they're like, oh, stupid and shut up. Like, couldn't they have found different words to like, there was this one part where she's like, oh, stupid
They've never heard
dog.
those words before.
You need to stop cussing around the house then. If you piss off a
My
Toy Story
kids have
fan,
heard the
say stupid and shut
worst
up.
language
Okay,
ever.
I'm just saying, if I had to nitpick, that's like one thing. So anyways, I'm not going to get the point. Moving on to Peter, the film connoisseur.
John Bear, you're up.
Uh,
By the way,
This
guys, Lauren actually prefaced it. Sometimes
Yeah.
I did.
sometimes I'm not necessarily looking for you to change it.
But it's not a bad point.
It's not a bad point.
It's really not.
I'm not the person that should be able to find a flaw. I'm not warranted to find a flaw in a movie. I'll state that to begin with. I thought it was a damn good movie. But if I was forced to change one thing, I would develop more of a deeper, quick maybe line or deeper love story between Bo and Woody.
I like that, John Bear.
because that plays along into further movies, and I feel like there was no deep connection to this movie to those two, even though you're assuming that there was later in the franchise.
Yeah,
I agree.
I like that, John Bear.
Yeah.
All right, Pete Dog, what do you got?
Yeah, I understand technology at the time.
Yeah.
I get that. I just, even when I saw it, I always had a problem with the faces of the human characters. Like it just bothered me. It just bothered me, even though I knew that at the time there was nothing they could do about it.
Yeah,
But
pretty much an asshole.
with Steve Jobs, with all that cash, like it just, give me $1 million more dollars.
No,
I
but
agree.
Fine. Like, I mean,
Do something.
such a
Yeah.
terrible
Especially Sid the bully. It was a weird look.
Fix it up.
No. It
Less
is,
teeth
but
on the bully.
You guys are talking like
You
you guys are trying to compete against technology and time. Like it's unrealistic. So Pete, you're getting
listen,
a negative point.
That's the only flaw. If the
John
only
Bear-
flaw
John
of the
Bear-
movie is
John Bear
something
wins
in the
this one.
future.
John Bear wins the argument. Pete, don't talk anymore because I'm going to take a point away from you with that argument. Like you talk about deadline, like this. You have deadlines. You have
Oh,
money.
I know it. But
can't
the
change
toys
that.
look.
What are you talking
The
about?
toys look flawless. The toys look flawless. The sets look flawless. The
But they
music
know
was flawless.
But understand they
Story
know
was
this, though.
flawless, and yet
They
didn't
already
have
know
time
that,
to
though.
human faces.
They know that though. There's also there's a reason why there's no explosions. Like they mentioned this too in like did you know? Like there's a reason why they didn't do certain things because they just literally couldn't do it. Like
You can add a couple more things in the rig to, make it a little
no,
less.
not at that time. Like again, you're like
Come on.
Peter.
Come on.
I love that. I think it's very weird about the faces.
Well, no,
Thank you.
100%. It's
Thank
not
you,
there,
Lauren.
but the faces aren't there yet, and they knew that. Like
And I prefaced it by
Anyway.
saying that, but that's the
Anyway.
only flaw that I can find.
John wins this one.
Only flaw.
John's back in this game for all that you.
Lauren looks real happy. I'm a point away from tying it up.
Yeah, good job, John. Keep talking about Bo Peep and Woody.
Pete,
Sorry, man.
So Pete and John both have 3. Lauren have 4. Guys, we're in our final. This is it. This is the championship right here.
This is it.
We're in our final competition here. We've already mentioned we're not going to get into the facts. If you want to know more about this film, again, read the book Creativity Inc. Also go through IMDb, go through the trivia, a bunch of fun facts. But today, guys, our final thing, and we're going to close this out, our top 5 best Pixar films. And I've already mentioned this, guys. I'm not going to give my top 5 because I'm so unqualified to give you a top 5. But Peter, you're going to start it off. What are your top 5 best Pixar films? And guys, I'm going to tell you, the winner of this one, you literally just have to sell me on why those are the best top 5 because I don't have any other qualifications.
John didn't even want to hear it. He's gone.
John just left.
John's gone because we didn't think this category was a thing. So he's probably scrambling to find any 5 Pixar films.
The producer of the show / moderator threw this category out at the last minute.
That's not true.
Like
you got a text message.
No, that was on the script from
It
the
was
beginning.
Yeah.
But this was not as tough as I thought it was going to be because, my top 3 I've already said him in the previous list, but my number 5 is Coco. I mean, I couldn't put it in my top 5 of all time animated films, but it is one of the best Pixar movies that I've ever seen. I mean, visually, I've never seen so many beautiful colors that blended so well together, that also blended in music and performance and style. I'd never seen that in an animated movie before. Style, you know what I mean? And it had it. And that's my number 5. Number 4 for me, along the similar lines, was The Incredibles, because I'd never seen an action movie like that animated before. It was hilarious. It was clever. It was well done. And you were on the edge of the seat throughout the entire film, which you never really are in an animated film. You're never so engaged like that to that degree.
Yeah.
Quickly, number 3, Finding Nemo. As I've said before, it's incredible. Number 2, Inside Out. Number 1, Toy Story.
Yeah. It's a good list.
Beautiful list. Perfect list. I might say.
What do you got?
I think
No,
Lauren
Bear's
looks
John Bear's still.
Lauren looks like she wants to go.
Yeah,
I would just
John's still compiling.
Yeah,
No,
John's disqualified. John,
I'm
you're not
making
a part of this
a
round.
tweak. a tweak to how I
You're
want to deliver.
you're allowed to
So,
make tweaks, John, until you announce them.
Yep.
but Lauren looks like she's really eager, and I don't want to take that away from her.
All right,
Yeah.
Thank you.
What a
Thank you.
we'll
What a
move to
gallant
we'll move to
man.
Lauren.
What a selfless man I married.
Yeah,
Always
unprecedented
thinking
move.
about you.
Lauren is going to move up to number 2 now. Lauren, what are your top 5?
Okay, so this is a Pixar short film, but because it's called a short film, I feel like it's allowed to be in this category.
Oh, 100%.
And it's called, okay, so it's Bow. And I don't know if any of you guys have seen that. I can't remember what movie they started with, but it's about a mother who wants a child, and she starts to see her baby in a little dumpling. So she carries this little dumpling basically all throughout her life, and then you see this little dumpling become an adult. You see him have a girlfriend, and then it's all stages of life. But the head of the child is a dumpling, and she's so hurt by the end of her the film that she gets it and she eats it. But then you realize that, it actually is her, it is her son, but she was using the dumpling as like a metaphor, and it was about, a mother's love and like growing up and moving on and that. So that's my number 5. Number 4 is Ratatouille. That movie just makes me feel good every time I watch it. I love that it's set in Paris. I love the Parisian cuisine. I think it's so cool to see like a little mouse just like dicing. I feel like you watch it and you can like smell the smells coming out of the screen. Like, so it really
that sequence in Ratatouille where he's kind of trying to evade when he's first in the kitchen itself. He's trying to like get out, and he's trying to move out of the way. One of the best animated sequences that I've ever seen, of him just trying to get out of that kitchen and stay alive. Great choice.
I love that film.
Great choice.
Number 3 is Monsters University. I think it's a really bright and colorful film. I love the original Monsters Inc. So I think it was really cool to kind of have that origin story between Mike and Sully of, how they started off in rivals and how they're in college and the fraternities and all of that stuff. So I thought it was a really fun way to introduce the friendship of the 2 characters. Number 2 is Coco. You've talked about Coco. It's such a beautiful movie. The music is just so amazing. And number 1 for me is actually Toy Story 3. So Toy Story 3 is one that I can watch over and over again. It's one that my son Jackson loves watching the most. But I just think it's really fun. I think the characters that they introduced was really fun. You have the villain Lotso.
I don't think I've seen Toy Story 3. Just again, why I'm so.
Oh my goodness.
I'm sorry, what?
I don't think I've actually seen Toy Story 3.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude,
well, then I'm not even gonna finish like my shtick about it.
Guys, which is why I don't have any score today, because I'm definitely negative points, and I already know that.
Yeah, so anyways, for the viewers out there, Toy Story 3 is awesome.
But you seem to know what you're talking about with Toy Story. Like, so when Toy Story 4 came out, did you feel the same way I felt? Like it was so heavy. It was one of the more heavier animated films that I had seen in a while.
I did not like Toy Story. Me and John has so many feelings about Toy Story 4, but I didn't like 2. I didn't like 2 and I didn't like 4. I didn't like 2 and 4. Like 3 was kind of like that fun feeling with like, all the characters kind of like getting together again. And then it introduces Bonnie, who's then, the star in 3 and 4. It shows Andy giving his toys to Bonnie and kind of having that struggle of him not wanting to give away Woody. And she's like, oh, no, you're missing a toy in this box. Like, where's the cowboy? And then he kind of, and then he winds up playing. I just, that one is great. But Toy Story 4 didn't need to be made. So
really,
I want to hear, now that you set it up, I do want to, in the shortest way possible, John, can you tell us your feelings on that?
On Toy Story 4?
Is that the one that Lauren was mentioning?
Yeah, it's just a solid movie, but to me, it just doesn't make sense, because you have Woody, who essentially leaves his best friend in the crew for some girl that we don't know anything about. and he chooses Bo before the bros, which I don't agree with, because there's nothing that the audience has known to this date that there's a big kindling love story between the two of them, enough for him to chase after her and leave everything behind.
Okay, and I understand why you say that, but even at the very beginning of Toy Story, the first one, that relationship, that interaction at the very beginning between Bo and Woody gives the impression that there is like a thing there, that those two are supposed to be sort of like together, almost like it was meant to be, like they were supposed to.
And that's true,
be.
and that's the argument that people have brought up, and I get to say that, yeah, you're right. There's a one line basically of kinship, but then we don't see it for almost 3 other movies. The next line is the line I mentioned earlier, was like, oh, I found my moving buddy, and that's why it's such a heavy line for me. Even though it's just said, tongue in cheek, or she's saying, I hit that.
Yeah.
But you go through almost 2.5 more movies up until 4, where you know nothing of Bo really. She escapes and she's gone. But he don't look for her really in 3. He cares less about her in 3. He's not heartbroken in 3. And all of a sudden you have a 4th movie made, and he's going to ditch all the homies and his best friend for this girl that we don't know much about. I feel that's why I have a problem with 4. It felt like a great money grab, because I thought the movie was amazing, but it felt like they finally settled on a script where they said, hey, this script is amazing. It reads great. We're going to make everyone at the end go, oh, I get that. Or it's coming of age where you have to make that decision as an adult, and you're going to leave your friends behind because you found the one of your dreams. I get where the moral decisions made for that movie to be made, and it's a great movie. It's just, he dissed the homies, he dissed his best friend to go with the girl that we don't know anything about, was my point.
I'm gonna go watch it again, and all 4 of them again, because I'm really intrigued by what you just said, because it's really interesting. It's a good solid point. And I didn't think about
me
it.
just being me being a contrarian. That's about it.
No, but
and I'll be watching these,
sense.
obviously. Like I don't think I've saw 2, 3, 4. I don't think I've seen any of them. So I'm gonna watch them live now. So
gotta watch them all.
I'm gonna watch.
And if you do want more of a backstory on Bo, honey, you can watch Lamp Life.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah, there's some other.
Her struggles.
Dum Dum.
Thought I'd throw that out.
Isn't that more of a her and a Molly? Or what's the sister's name? Molly, right?
Molly.
Yeah, it's more of a her and Molly story. Yeah. Bo was in Molly's room.
All right, John Bear, we gotta wrap this up.
We gotta wrap this up.
What's
So I'm gonna try to be true, because I know some people here didn't. They mentioned some movies that were their top Pixar movies. They didn't include them in their top 5 earlier. So I'll try to stay true to form. Yeah. Speed up. Yeah, you're disqualified. So number 5 is MU, because Monsters University. Who doesn't like a good college movie? It felt right for Pixar, man. Everything about this movie was a home run to me. I believed every aspect of it, even the sorority, fraternity and sorority factors of the movie. It just was awesome to me. A cool ride the whole way. I'll go with number 4 being Wall-E. Wall-E, because it kind of pokes fun at who we might be in the future. We're going to be possibly AI dependent, fat and overweight. I know there's a lot of flaws on which way you fall on the spectrum on some of the political issues of global warming with this movie, but it's kind of poking fun at us as society, saying, hey, we could become this if we don't watch out. So I dug that movie for that.
I didn't put that on my list, but I wanted to, because it was a very innovative film in that there's no dialogue virtually in that entire movie. Like, who does that? Who makes a fucking movie like that? And who are the executives that signed off on that script? Like, here's a script. There's like no dialogue in it at all.
I don't know what it is, but that first hour of that movie without the dialogue is crazy. But I followed it the whole time and loved it.
And you love him. You love Wall-E, and you're rooting for him. Like, he's like the coolest kid.
The fool could dance too, man. And
it's a great choice.
My number 3 is Toy Story number 3. It's probably the I think the most I've ever cried in an animated movie was in Toy Story 3, to be that choked up in a movie theater and actually have like tears flowing when Andy has to give up his toys. And it's that final scene when he's on the yard giving the toys to Bonnie, and he looks back and he goes over, and it's like him going into adulthood. And I think all of us at one point in our lives have to take that final step and just take that leap into, for me, it was graduating high school. Like, immediately I knew I was fucked. I was like, all right, I got to go hit
Toy Story 3, right, babe? Toy Story 3.
Yeah. I got to go hit the real world. In that moment, man, I was choked up when he gives away those toys, and you see him losing the last bit of innocence and going off into the real world. And it's that coming of age, and that hit home for me. Number 2 is Coco, as I mentioned earlier. Just awesome for them to make a full feature on Hispanic heritage. I was able to relate. So many things I grew up around had never been represented. It was a home run, especially just the color scheme and the animation. And like I said, what a kick-ass way to go to heaven. If that's what the afterlife's all about, I'm all about it.
Yeah.
Number 1, pleasing to the audience, is Toy Story. You know, that's why we're here. That's why we're talking about it right now. I got to give Toy Story 1 all the credit in the world for what it did. It made us all become kids instantly again. So I love it.
Awesome. Well, I mean, yeah, guys, I would easily like to just make it easy and just pick a clear winner, but I like to make things difficult. John, I think you won that category. I think your explanation, you had the most passionate responses to that film. So I'm gonna give you the winner of that category. So you are now in a tie with Lauren. So Pete Dog.
What about all his negative points? Can we add in his negative points for not following instructions?
That's true.
So Pete Dog, as tradition.
I can give a tiebreaker.
Yeah, you're gonna be the tiebreaker. So John or Lauren?
Here's a piece of trivia.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it's trivia?
Lauren's gonna win this. She got all the trivia.
Whoever can answer it first wins.
I love this.
So when they're in the bully's room and they're trapped and they're trying to escape, there's something on the toolbox.
Binford.
On the milk crate.
Binford.
Yeah.
Nod to Home Improvement.
From Home Improvement.
We have our winner.
We got a winner.
John, you just got stomped by Lauren right there. Great job, Lauren.
You would have
Binford
ready for it.
Etch a sketch on that draw.
She's ready.
So again, so our audience didn't get a chance to fully hear that, but so Binford.
No.
Oh, sorry.
I don't think I fully heard the question.
So Tim Allen at the time was working on Home Improvement, which is his hit show. Binford Tools was the sponsor of his show and what the tools that he used, and so there's a reference of Binford in the category. And so
Easter egg drop for the win.
Yeah.
Man.
But the other one was the gas station that they go to. It's called what? Dynaco from Cars.
Yeah.
Cars. Well, yeah, but it's after though.
Well,
Cars used it from that. Yeah.
Going to be in Cars
That's
in
cool.
the future.
So guys, so our winner today is Lauren. Congratulations. So Lauren, what would, as the winner, what is a future film that you want to have us review? And it won't necessarily be next, but what is in the next 5
What would be something that you would want to talk about?
I mean, it's got to be an all-time great. So you don't give me Ratatouille.
Okay. What about Princess Bride?
Ooh. Oh my God. That's a great idea.
That's a great selection. Yeah. That's a great pick.
I can talk about that movie all day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And nothing bad.
Oh yeah, that'd be a big departure from your character, Pete.
Yeah, what would I do? Director's chair in that movie? Nothing.
Oh my gosh.
And
It's a perfect film.
so there's also a great book on the making of that, Pete. It's on our Kindle. Definitely read that book. I'll probably read that again. But
I don't read
okay, excellent, Lauren. Love that choice. We'll definitely put that on the list. Princess Bride. Absolutely. Great job, Lauren, today. Great job, John Bear. Great job, Pete Dog. Guys, love this conversation. Again,
Great to see you guys.
You as well, Peter.
Lightyear comes out this Thursday. We'll be reviewing that as well.
Yeah.
Lauren and John Bear, if you watch that in time, you guys are welcome to join us. If not, you will not be part of the podcast. So it's up to you.
Be it 4D.
We're probably going to shoot that Saturday morning. So if you can watch Lightyear before then, you guys are welcome to join us and give us your response. But thank you guys. You guys crushed the Toy Story response. You guys are exactly the people we need for this film, because obviously I was terrible.
Yes.
But
well done, guys.
So
well done indeed.
So to our audience, please make sure you like and subscribe our channel. We're growing, and up next we got Indiana Jones coming out next week.
Yeah.
We'll be reviewing Lightyear, and then the following after that we're reviewing I think Phone Booth, and yeah, Phone Booth with Black Phone, excuse me. Black Phone with
Phone Booth. I was like, Colin Farrell?
Colin Farrell, okay.
Why were we reviewing that film?
No, with Ethan Hawke.
Throwback.
Oh, and
Cool.
Elvis. Elvis is
All right.
big as well. So Elvis will be a big one as
There
well.
we go.
So, again, thank you for watching. Please comment below. Please give us your lists, your top 5 animated films, best songs. Give us your opinions on these guys. And again, thank you for joining us. And we'll see you. And that'll be
cut.
Pete. I'm gonna give you the line.
And cut.
Bing. Thanks, guys.